wanted to give you a chance to address a little bit about some recent criticisms. I feel like, maybe every year or two, uh, there's often even in a left-wing magazine, somebody will come out with some sort of sweeping Slavoj Zizek is horrible. Actually, you should listen to him article. I've read versions of this in different places.
But did you notice that now there are two? One is this Rockwell guy, court jester of whatever, global capitalism.
Yeah.
But at the same time, all the time I found another in some nationalist reviewer say, Slavoj Zizek, intelligent, dangerous proponent of Marxist terror.
well, this is one of the things I was going to ask you about because, anyway, you said something interesting earlier, which we probably don't have time to follow up on about, democracy and doesn't necessarily have to be Western style multi-party democracy. And I think there are a lot of interesting ways to push on that. But I do just want to say, like, it seems to me that some of what I found, one of the things that I found interesting about the Rockhill one that you mentioned, or some other recent critiques, is that there the criticism is exactly the opposite of what I remember it being in many places, even the ones that would arise from within the socialist left. In say 2021, where it would be, or I don't know, 2019 or something, where it used to be that the problem with you is that you were soft on Stalinism, that actually you had some sort of nostalgia or affinity, for authoritarian capital C communism. And now it seems to me that that it's almost not almost, it's completely reversed. That now it's that, even aside from the sorts of disagreements that we were just talking about, possibly about Ukraine and we're subjects related to that, it's like no, actually this guy has been a stooge of the CIA, of Western imperialism, for going back to the 1980s, maybe even, that as a dissident in Slovenia, and it does seem to me that what both of these sort of miss, and and I'm speaking at a very general level here, because if the issue is, okay, what position did you take on this or that particular event that happened, we can have an argument about that, right? But they have but on a very general level, it does seem to me that that you have had a fairly consistent position that is neither of those things. That you were critical in in the 80s of the authoritarian aspects of Slovenia's system, but not from any sort of perspective of advocating neoliberal economic restructuring, and that and that more recently, you've been equally critical of the excesses of the national security state in the West. I've heard you speak about Julian Assange and Edward Snowden on many occasions. And while also opposing, also supporting the, things that were going against economic neoliberalism, like, the Bernie Sanders campaigns in the United States, or Jeremy Corbyn in his time in leadership in the Labour Party in Great Britain, or Occupy Wall Street, or etc. So this does, I think that I think there are more honest criticisms that could be made, that would be like, well, here's why this doesn't go far enough, or here's why this is flawed in this or that way. But that does seem like
but what always bothers me, when people say this doesn't go far enough. Okay, give me a model of how to go further in a realistic way. This is very brutal, I will say now. Yes, it's easy to constitute, like, do they still exist? That, how is he called? My God, that strange small American communist party, which are purely Maoist and so on.
Oh,
and
small Maoist American, like the RCP, the Revolutionary Communist Party. Is that who you mean? Or,
yeah. Like for me, it's very comfortable position. You know very well that you will achieve nothing, and you just can enjoy your radicalism. You know, I think that
I wrote a book about that.
Yeah, I know. So that's, don't you agree that here I agree, my God, even with Chomsky, that the situation is too serious. We don't have time to be elitist and just wait for an authentic revolution, which will finally come at its purest. Many of my leftist friends, their entire, what in my Lacanian jargon I would have called surplus enjoyment, is that whenever something new happened, like I remember when there was Syriza, we all expected it will fail, but it was something unique, a mass movement, tremendous self-organization of civil society. The tragedy is that they in power, they crashed this civil society. But nonetheless, it was something unique. And then people are telling me, what an idiot, did you really think that something will happen? Like, I don't care. One has naively to support such movements unconditionally. The same with, I will tell you something very sad. With my friends, I'm now editing a volume of texts. He's a very good theoretician. We talked about him, a text by Alvaro Garcia Linera, Morales vice president in Bolivia. And you know that we offered it all around, from Verso to Polity Press, I don't know where, to these small leftist presses. And the reaction was, no, when he was vice president, he made too many compromises. Not. No, they didn't want him. But my God, look, he's a heroic, I know this from personal rumors which are truthful. He was tortured savagely. He went through that violent state. And this, what they did under Morales, was a miracle without ruining the economy, the standard of the ordinary people. Really got up and so on and so on. But no, you know, this pleasure of saying, or my other friends are telling me, are you crazy, Chile? This is nothing. This is just another bourgeois trick. Or Colombia now, and so on and so on. My God, don't you think that this is our destiny? Even if, as Horkheimer put it, the old Frankfurt Square guy, you know, pessimist in theory, optimist in practice. Even if you know at the end we will probably at this stage fail, we have to risk it to go through it. Where there is a limit of such compromises, I advise you and some of our readers to read a book. It's not very reliable, but that part is correct. Do you know a guy called, some strange sounding name. I'm very sorry, not racist. The guy is American. Tooze or T-O-O-Z. Deleuze, about rearranging the world order at the end of the First World War. And you know, when Bhaskar told you, Lenin should have read more economy and so on, you know.
Yeah.
No, if anything, Lenin was there even too naively, brutally pragmatic in this non-Hegelian way. You know that in 1918, when Lenin concluded Brest-Litovsk Pact with Germany, it was brutal but reasonable thing to do. I mean, to save the revolution. But you know what was? It's now disclosed. We just ignored it from Lenin's speeches at at the Politburo of Soviet Party and so on. His idea was this one. Germany will find itself alone. And by Germany, he didn't mean social democrats. He meant Hindenburg, Ludendorff, the hardline militarists. And his idea was that Russians are lost. They must find a big, more developed Western partner. And at the same time, they must get out of war. And the only option is Germany. Mm-hmm. So in the summer of 1918, they already concluded a big pact of Germany giving them weapons and stuff, Russia giving them. Lenin was obsessed of this idea. He wrote quite tragically in an analysis there that forget about reactionary Tsarist, emperor's forces, Hindenburg and so on, but that in its organization, economic, with centralized, strong military economy, the German Empire is the closest de facto you can get to some kind of socialism, that it's much more than Western liberals. So his idea was a big pact between the imperial Germany and Russia. So, Lenin, on the one hand, I like this totally crazy, non-dogmatic, pragmatic ideas. But Lenin often made terrifying mistakes here. Mm-hmm. So I don't think Lenin learned anything dogmatic from Hegel. What he learned from Hegel is precisely to cure him of this, let's say, dogmatic Marxism. Because, from Chomsky to Mensheviks, the reproach was, but there are no conditions for socialism in Russia. Nonetheless, as Marx said, it must be a highly developed country, blah, 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 blah. And this idea, no, there is a totally different logic of concrete history. It's bizarre, it's contingent, grotesque. Things can happen in a totally different way. He brought it even too far, but this is what he got from Hegel. So my answer to Bhaskar, whom I appreciate very much, is that, what he got Lenin from Hegel's logic is precisely this opportunism in a good sense. Don't just apply a general formula. Incredible things can happen. Here again, Hegel made mistakes because Ludendorff, forget about Hindenburg and the emperor, they were idiots. Ludendorff, the one who in 23 tried a putsch with Hitler, the Munich putsch. Ludendorff had another idea. He was absolutely for this pact. You know why? To economically, in this way, first economically, then politically colonize Russia. He was the first Euro-Asian guy. He said that if Russia joins Germany, they can then obliterate, making them into sub-protectorates, all those small shitty countries for them, Poland, Czech Republic, and so on, and that such a united Euro-Asian bloc, Germany, Russia, and all in between, could resist Western imperialism, which means France, England, United States. And these two guys found themselves together, already making concrete plans for collaboration and so on and so on. The story is so crazy. So again, my answer is no. All intelligent Marxists who read Hegel, no, they didn't draw any dogmas from there. Hegel was this sobering moment of don't trust any big linear mechanic laws of progression. The typical Hegelian reversal is, which is then used by Lenin in his notion of the weakest chain, of how what may appear as the weakest point can be precisely the point where you should begin to overturn. That's pure Hegelianism. That's concrete use of Hegel. there.
Well,
that's why precisely those who didn't read Hegel, Mensheviks, were horrified by the October Revolution, No, it was an extremely tragic event, I know. But another idea, that the key point when they introduced Red Terror in 1918 was not so much attentat on Hegel, but socialist revolutionaries, which represented poor farmers, killed the German ambassador Mirbach, German ambassador to Moscow. And Lenin was furious. He apologized to Germans because they knew this, the demonstrations against Bolsheviks organized by SR, social revolutionaries in the summer, was we don't to become German slaves. Lenin is right. A slave of a German military, and so on and so on. And another thing, it's confirmed. That Lenin, when then Entente, that is to say, British and French and a little bit of Americans, occupied Murmansk, just up there. You know what Lenin did, Bolsheviks? You wouldn't believe it. He formally asked Germans if they can, through Finland, occupy that port to relieve Bolshevik regime from imperialist pressure. So far went Lenin. And Germans, Hindenburg wanted, they're inviting us. We come to occupy Russia, but the majority in parliament didn't want to do this because they knew, Social Democrats knew that the war is lost and wanted a better peace and were afraid that this would be an incredible new adventure, whatever. But things were so crazy in those days there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, although it is interesting to think about the peace settlement to get Russia out of World War I, because it did involve these massive territorial concessions. I mean, there is a reason why the SRs and everybody saw it as such a huge betrayal. I mean, that wasn't coming from nowhere, but it was. It was also pretty, I mean, I'd be led inside of that one, right? I mean, that seems like obviously the right thing to do in that situation, because
no, but you know what was the point?
Yeah,
this is the very sad thing that I learned in this group. Now, retroactively, people claim Lenin knew that Germany will lose the war and then they will get some of this land back. It was just temporary. No, things started to get really back from Germany only when American forces start to arrive in Europe later, till May, June 1918. No. It wasn't at all clear that Germany will lose. So, no, Lenin didn't count on this. He didn't count on this.
No, he was just willing. He was just willing to make the calculation
and then
losing his fast track.
His reason was collaboration with Germany.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Slavoj, you've been extremely generous with your time.
I'm really grateful to you because in these times, where again to let you know my position. My God, listen. I engage a lot, and listen. In the States, we already talked about it. I follow this line of. I'm saying something wrong. Are you friendly with him, Thomas Frank?
Oh yeah, Thomas Frank.
He put it. That's my problem with political correctness. That instead of proposing some kind of large popular unity, like you have all those small farmers, blah, 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 they're conservative. Don't focus on that. Focus on, I don't know, different tax distribution, healthcare, blah, 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 all that. There are so many topics where we could mobilize them. And what political correctness is doing, it's true. I'm becoming a Stalinist. It's a sabotage. It's precisely doing everything possible to prevent any broad popular coalition.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we should say, oh, we are strategically against abortion.
No. You don't have to.
We remain here what we are.
You don't have to give an inch on the policy issues.
People on goals,
Yeah. You don't have to give an inch on the policy issues. You can say that of course, anti-discrimination for gay and trans people, of course, abortion rights, all of that stuff. But you could do that. You could do that without leading into this kind of alienating culture war.
And also, don't you agree that how to put it? I think this is a false choice, either radical revolution or concrete, realist, pragmatic measures. Why either or? Why not? Let's do what we can, but at the same time, make it clear all the time that this can maybe alleviate the passage, but that the moment will come when things will change, where a much more radical intervention will be needed. We are aware of this, but again, I find it too easy to say, so let's then just sit down and wait for that big moment. No?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, I think you have to, it's also absurd to think that you're going to be able to get people to sign on to a radical revolutionary political movement if you can't show them any successes, if you can't say, like, here's what we've already achieved, and look at what we could achieve in the future. If you just sort of say, oh, well, all reforms are just, they're just nothing, they don't matter, they don't, like nothing has ever gotten better, if nothing has ever gotten better, if no reform matters, then then why should anybody bother with any of this? I mean, if you haven't succeeded, if you haven't I don't know, maybe the metaphor wouldn't translate, but put points on the board, right? If you don't have here are some past successes we've already achieved, and look, we could go even further. And
that's where I read a very good liberal comment, but which says it is as if the left likes so much to retell its history of from one failure to another. Yes, there are defeats like this Supreme Court abortion, blah, blah, blah. But nonetheless, look, LGBT, gay rights, and so on. This was a big success, generally. I mean, a big success in the sense that the broad public accepted this. Mm-hmm. If you oppose it, you are not mainstream. You are dismissed as a crazy neocon and so on. So let's also be proud by some of our moderate successes. And of course, for the radical leftists, this is prohibited to say.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive post-games on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.